Welcome to Allies or Enemies. I'm Jess.
And I am Sean, and today we are talking about the White Castle, which is published by Devir and designed by Shay S. and Isra C., who collectively are known as Llama Dice.
And we recently purchased this at the Spiel in Essen, and it was on our most anticipated list. We have the Red Cathedral, which is by the same team, and we really liked it. It is like a decent weight game for a smallish box. I feel like the amount of game you get for the box is a good ratio.
Yeah, I love this Devir box. We got a few now. This one, Red Cathedral, Bamboo, and all of them are heavier than what the box would suggest. And this box is filled to the absolute brim, and it's like a decent price too. And yeah, we bought this one. This was one of the first ones on our list, and it's about 1700s Japan. And you are trying to curry favor with the ruler of this White Castle.
Yeah, to see how you specifically do that, let's look now at how it plays. White Castle takes place over 3 rounds, with 3 turns per round. On your turn, you will choose a die from either end of one of the 3 bridges, and then place that die on any available action space. If the number on the die is higher than the number on the space, you get coins. If it is lower, you will need to spend coins. Then you take the action or actions of that space. Possible actions include getting stuff like food, iron, and pearls, moving on the time track, gaining points, gaining seals, triggering all of the actions on your lantern, which is where you place cards you have collected, gaining resources from your player board, or triggering one of the 3 main actions that let you place your people. These key actions include placing gardeners on river cards, putting courtiers in the castle and then moving them up through the levels gaining cards, and putting your warriors in the training fields. Almost all of these placing people actions will also lead to other actions, and perhaps even chains of actions. Once the 3 rounds are finished, you gain points from leftover stuff. You're placed on the time track. Any cards your gardeners are on, the levels your courtiers reached in the castle, and the numbers of warriors you have multiplied by those courtiers. And then the daimyo's favorite is named.
All right, so that is how it plays, but how does it actually feel? And that, I think, is kind of the magic of this game, because the big thing is you only have 9 turns in the entire game. There's 3 rounds, 3 turns each round. And so that feels like, how am I going to do anything? And I always love this in a game. How am I going to do anything? And then you do so many things, and holy cow, this one has nailed that, because there's so many of these fun combos of like, I get this farmer, and I manage to put out this farmer with one of the dice actions, and then this farmer allows me to do this castle action, and then this castle gets me a card, and then getting that card gets me that action, and that does something else. So you're stretching these turns out into these like wonderful little combos of like, how did I accomplish that?
And you can't always. So there are a lot of times when you can combo once or combo a few times. There are occasional turns when you're like, I just have to get some resources.
Yeah.
I only get this one thing. But you're hoping to set yourself out for those bigger combos to pull off another time. And you're right, it is incredibly satisfying when we can do it. And Sean is much better at it. It's because the game is very dynamic. The spots that you can put your dice change all the time because it's done through a stack of cards. And once you go up the castle and you can take that card, a new card gets revealed, meaning new actions. So you're constantly evaluating what is available, and it changes all the time.
This is incredibly dynamic. There is like a spot over here that stays. That's basically it. Everything else, all of these card spots in this castle change constantly as people take those and add them to their own little card engine over here. These ones change each game. Everything that's in this little military field that I don't think you can see on the camera, but there's this little military field, and each of these fields change every game. So every game you're working with different worker spaces, and even turn to turn you're working with different worker spaces, which does bring it to the one possible problem for some folks is this can be very AP, because you'll be like, I know there's a way that I can that I can get these resources and do this thing and have that chain to this other thing. Like, I'm pretty sure. and you'll get like locked in. And at 2, I don't feel that so much, but at 4, maybe.
Yeah, I could see that being more of an issue at 4. And does it ever happen? Because on your turn, I'll figure out what I'm going to do. I'm like, okay, got a good plan. I'm going to go to this spot. Sean didn't go there, so it's available. Great. And then you end up taking that card away. I'm like, no, there goes all my plans. And then I get so stuck about what I'm going to do. At 4, just people would likely take a little bit longer, but you also get the benefit at 3 and 4 being able to stack the dice. So that does open up some like worker placement spots that you wouldn't have got to because it was blocked.
Yeah, let's actually talk about that, about player count here, because this feels like a 2-player game to me. Like, it works so well at 2. It feels almost like that's how it was designed. This works perfectly well. If you're only ever going to play this at 2, great. Like, that's perfect. But it does do that really clever thing of, instead of adding extra worker spaces, they've just added them vertically. So you just put a dice, you got a dice here, you just put a dice right on top of that dice, that's now a worker space. It's perfect. So it just doubles the spaces. That would mean at 3, and we haven't played at 3, but that would mean at 3, you can pretty much go anywhere. Like, you can pretty much, everything's open to you most of the time. So I wonder if scores are higher, because we definitely find that we're getting in each other's way a lot.
Yeah, there aren't that many spaces available, because it's going to be rare that you use the dice on your own board, because you're primarily putting the dice on the shared board. So there won't be a lot of options. So you are right, it'll be interesting at 3, but I think even at 3, when you could open everything up, there's still a puzzle here. Like, you still have to figure out the best possible turns that you can have, even if everything was open.
And you have to put dice that are equal to or higher than the dice that have already been placed as well. So if someone just puts a 6 on a 3, now this is a 6 spot, which is a real pain in the butt, because resources are tight. They're unbelievably tight. Every single time you're using, like, you don't have change. Anytime you're doing anything, really, you're basically using the maximum amount of resources. And so the trick is doing that thing and then hopefully getting some resources out of the thing that you did to set you up for the next thing you're doing.
Yeah, you definitely do have to plan ahead, and I always feel like I could maximize the whole game a bit better, because I always end up with some leftover resources, and I feel like in a perfect game you'll have like nailed it and end up with 0 extra resources, because you would have spent them just right to do all of your, like, putting all your people out.
Yeah, and talking about the variability in this game too, so there are so many paths, because there's the 3 obvious paths, because you've got these 3 different workers, your military people, and the military and the castle are really tied together, because your military only score for how much is in the castle, and then you got your castle, which really builds your card engine, because the cards down here, every time you do a lantern, you do all this stuff, which is a really fun engine as you build that up. And if you build this up strong enough, you can just win off of that too. And then the gardening is cool, because you want to do this early, because it happens again at the end of the first 2 rounds if you leave dice here. So you got these 3 obvious paths, but even the paths to get into that, of like, I'm going to really focus on this, or I'm going to focus on clearing out these guys, and then just getting a ton of the resources and actually doing my board actions.
Yeah, and you might have an idea or direction of what path you want to do, but then all of a sudden none of those options are available to do on the board as well, because of the cards continually changing. So that is the biggest point of variability, is the actions are based on the cards. So every game, it's going to look very different throughout the game. It's going to look very different as those spaces replace themselves. There's also a few little other things as well, like the dice that you put out, the little tokens here. So those go out randomly, and you can never have like all of one color in one spot. But that's going to change up where they are, and which dice might be more beneficial than others. Like right here, 2 white's really good for this spot, but you only get 1 action for each of the dice at this spot. White and black
is better this time.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's going to change things up. There's these little tokens for the military actions that will give you different bonuses as well. And the farmer cards as well are going to be distributed differently. So a bunch of variability, I'd say.
Yeah, and even like you look at this board right now too. Like, I can do the castle in 5 different ways, 6 different ways, but I've only got like 2 ways to do a river action. So right now, how this board is set up, we're both going to be racing up here. In River and Military, we're not going to be able to do as much. But as soon as this one goes and like this one goes, all of a sudden, all of that stuff shifts. And now, or we get rid of these two, and those two castle actions become these actions or these actions. Everything shifts to these other parts. So that how dynamic it is really cool, and how weirdly quick this game is too. Because we've talked about like how much it combos and everything, but even within that, this as a 2-player game, we probably play it in 30 minutes.
Yeah, I think so. Our first game took a little bit longer as we learned it and learned about the icons. But then once you know them, it does flow really quickly. There'll be maybe one turn when you get a bit stuck. But then other than that, it goes so fast. And then all of a sudden the game's over. But that really great feeling of like, oh, that was great. Like, I wish it went longer. It ended too soon, which is always a nice feeling to have.
Yeah, no one's ever going to play this and feel like, oh, I did too much. Like, I didn't. You'll always feel like, I did not do enough. I wish there was another round in this game because I could do 3 more turns and still not do everything I want to do. Yeah, and I do like that wanting more feeling. I always want that out of a game. The components, how do you feel about the components?
They're amazing. I mean, for what cost us 30 euros, it's incredible. I love the 3 different types of meeples. The farmer with the like rake that he's holding, and like they look great. The card quality is really good. The art is really lovely. The icons are really clear. The round marker is like
it's
overly
absurd.
extravagant.
It doesn't need to be like, I feel like they just had extra wood. I don't know. Games have been doing this lately. These outrageous round markers. This is bigger than anything else in this game. It's fine. You don't really even need it. You can have a bit of cardboard. But it's just like, why? Why does that exist? But it's nice.
And the same with, you have these little cranes here.
Yes.
That you just put for a turn order. So you don't, like, again, it's only 3 rounds and they're very extravagant. The bridges work really well functionally and look nice. Great. So I think that works great too.
This coral dice, I really like the color of this specific dice. I like the colors of really everything. And even little things like they screen printed these little tokens that just go on the time track. Just a lot of nice little touches, and everything fits nice.
Yeah,
too.
I was going to say for the individual player boards, they did a really good job of making it seem dual layered by being single layered because you just pop out the tracks, and so they stay in the place really nicely, which is great without having it be the weight or the expense of a double layer board. And then the cards just fit in so great too.
So I feel like we've been gushing over this. What are a few of the possible drawbacks that we might find? Like, I think the AP... for some folks that could really be a thing is because there are paths to be found, so you're really going to want to find them, and at 4 players you may have to have a little bit of patience to go through everybody. At 2 players it's not as big a deal because you're only waiting for one person, and outside of that I would say the other thing is that the economy is so tight that you've got to be okay with having some turns that just aren't going to pan out. And that hurts because you only got 9 turns. But the economy is, I can't overstate how tight it is.
Yeah, so if you don't like that tightness, this isn't a game for you because you really have to manage this. And I feel like this is a game we're just going to get better and better at the more we play. Like, we found that already. With each play, we've gotten better. But when you did the solo mode on easy, it beat you.
I didn't even talk about that. Yeah, so the solo mode, it's a really solid solo mode. It's a simple, you flip a card and that tells you what dice they're going to take and where it's going to go. And then they just get coins and they get points based on how many coins they've earned over the round. It's a super simple, but it is like a competitive bot that you're playing against. So it's not a best score mode. It is a competitive mode. And oh boy, is it competitive. So I played it on the very easy. The highest score I've gotten ever in a game is 55. It got 59. And just creamy. And I'm sure there's better ways to play against it. But it is hard. So you gotta really think about it and really play it. But I think generally solo players like a more difficult experience and a challenging experience, and to have to kind of solve that puzzle. There's really a puzzle to solve here. And even when you've solved that first puzzle, you've got like 2 or 3 more levels that you can go up to make that bot harder as well. So you are going to get better, but this is very much a game that an experienced player is going to beat a new player. Like your first play, it's going to be hard and you're going to get better at it. But if you're playing with newer players, I guess just like take your foot off the gas a little bit, because this is one where if you know what you're doing, you're gonna win.
And I do wonder, as we keep playing and playing this, if we'll ever have the opportunity to use the plus 80 token.
I feel like that is a pie. Yeah, we use the plus 40 regularly, but the plus 80, I feel like they only put that because there's two sides. I don't know. If you're getting 80, I'm very impressed.
But I can't think of really any other thing to comment on that. Like, as you can tell, we really like this game. We think they fit a lot of game into a quick experience with a lot of depth and into like a wonderfully sized box.
Yeah, we came home with, I don't know, 30-ish games from Essence, something like that. And this is the first one that we're talking about. There's a good reason for that. We've already played this game 5 times since we've got it. We like this one a lot. So yeah, this is definitely like recommended, I think, especially if you're a gamer and you've played a few games and you want something that is this like fun, tight, challenging experience. This does it, and it doesn't take up a lot of space, and I can't overstate how great that is.
But I think that is everything that we have to share about White Castle. So please let us know in the comments if you've played it. Maybe you got a chance to demo it at Essen. Maybe you're going to explore it a little bit more. But as usual, please like, subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you next time for another game.